May our life filled with health and happiness, and may we find ourselves to keep striving to become a better person every day. First and foremost, I'd like to welcome all the audience here on today's virtual guest lecture. This guest lecture will be held in a series of three, which comprises about wide topics about rabbit science. Today is the first session in which we will go in depth within the topic wood rabbit production, facts and challenges. We as the committee sincerely hope that this series of guest lecture would be broaden our horizon and improve our knowledge upon the animal science, especially rabbit science, we decide to study. I also like to thank our key speaker today, Mr. Dr. Thierry Giden, who allowed some of his time to attend our today's guest lecture as the speaker. Although it is regrettable that the class has to be conducted virtually, it is greatly appreciated for you to be able to share your knowledge and expertise to the young students today. Before we actually start the guest lecture, I would like to brief some rules about our virtual class today. Just like the usual virtual classes, I expect all students to turn on all their cameras, mute their mics during the lecture. The lecture will be conducted in English, and for those who want to ask questions but not confident in English, it's okay to ask in Bahasa Indonesia as I will try to translate the questions for you. Before the lecture starts, our faculty dean would like to deliver a welcoming speech to Mr. Professor Dr. Science Agriculture Engineer Suyadi MS, IPU Asing In. As the dean of the faculty, time and space is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for Dr. Ita. It is very happy to thank Dr. Thierry Chidin, senior researcher in INRE and president of the World Rabbit Science Association, and also president of the scientific committee of the 12th World Rabbit Congress. Welcome to our campus. Also in this moment, attended in online system because our system now in Indonesia let us to conduct our meeting, especially for the large number of meeting until now limited in the online system. We hope that in the future we can meet again and also direct meeting in our campus. Our campus is located in Malang City, Malang Town. That is academic education town or education city. And I think it's very nice city in Indonesia. And some students come overall of the region in Indonesia come in our campus here to study animal science here. And we hope that this meeting is our first meeting and followed by the other meeting and program, not only in the lecturing, but also in the other activities according to our program in the campus. Our programs like the collaboration in the research, international research collaboration, and also the international collaboration in the scientific publication and others. I think it's very possible we can make a collaboration between your institution and our institution in the future. So this is the opening meeting and opening relationship. I think this is very valuable for us, and also this is in for the student also very valuable for improving the experience, also knowledge about the rabbit management, rabbit development rapid breeding and feeding and so on. So this is warm welcome for us from us, and also we hope also you can involve also in our next international conference. So we have in this year 2 international conference. They will be in 12 October and 10th November in this year. Thank you very much, and officially this meeting, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, is open. Thank you very much for all committee and also for our lecturer for this organization. Very nice today. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the welcome speech of the team. Before the lecture starts, and now before we start the guest lecture, I would like to talk a bit about our speaker of the topic today, wood rabbit production fact and challenge. Let me speak a few words about our speaker today. So let me share a little bit about the curriculum today of Mr. Terry Dinen.
So, yes, we start. Through the budget.
Yeah, okay. Little bit about Mr. Thierry Diden come from France. He is a senior researcher in INRAE, a president of the World Rabbit Science Association, and has spent years delving into the rabbit world. He currently works as researcher in INRAE, and he is one of the most trusted experts when it comes to rabbits. Please welcome Dr. Thierry Diden.
Okay.
Time is yours.
Thank you very much for this introduction. I hope everybody hear me very good. I will share my screen to start this lesson. Okay. I hope everybody see. It's okay to see the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. So today is a course about world rabbit productions, facts and challenges. And as it was already said, I am a senior research director at the French Institute for Agriculture and also Environment. It's called INRAE now. Just to look at the index of this course, I suppose that students are not very confident with rabbit production, so I will, and it's French Research Institute, and about the history also of the rabbit farming, in fact. So I will do a little introduction on this point. You will see where comes from the rabbit, in fact. Then we will move to world rabbit production in the world, the meat consumptions and marketing. And we will look also some rabbit production systems from industrial one to backyard farming. And we will go to a conclusion at the end. So first, just some words about my institute, the French National Institute for Agriculture and Environmental Research. I am working in the southwest France in a lab research unit. It is a large unit of 150 researchers that are divided in 10 teams. The name is GenPhys for genetic, physiology, and breeding system. And I belong to a team. I don't know if you see my mouse?
Yes.
Yes, okay. My team is a team working mainly on sustainable breeding systems, including rabbits and also sheep breeding systems. What is this sustainable breeding definition, in fact? You see, probably students know that is a mix with 3 pillars, a social one, for environment and for economy. And if a breeding system, an agricultural system is filling these 3 pillars, you can reach sustainable agriculture. It should be acceptable, respectful for environment, and viable for economy. Okay. So in our team, we are designing new systems, try to design new systems, respecting these 3 pillars if possible. And for example, in the rabbit productions, we try to improve the systems to reduce the use of drugs and antibiotics, for example, and also to try to improve, to increase the use of local feed resources, for example. And we also look at new systems for French ones, that is livestock grazing, including the rabbit grazing system. I will show some pictures after. Okay. So sustainable, you can move, it is sustainable even for intensive systems like that, or everything is very integrated with building. It is completely indoor systems without field. And we look also at these grazing systems. It is organic rabbit farming like that. You see this guy with movable cages on a field. Why to look at sustainable system and to look at agroecology? It is because our government is requesting to look at agroecology and sustainable systems. So it is the French government that ask us to work on that, to try to have a transition of the agriculture for more environmental systems. So if you look at different publications, for example, this one from Mr. Dumont is looking particularly to the breeding systems and agroecology and what is necessary to implement to reach such sustainable systems. And I encourage the students or even professors to look at these references also. What about the international context for the rabbit production or rabbit farming? In fact, in RAE at Toulouse, in the southwest of France, it is the main rabbit science research center in France, and maybe in Europe too, with many cooperation with different countries. You see here, and we manage a European network on nutrition, and I am implicated in the administration of the World Rabbit Science Associations, and invite everybody to look at this website of the WRSR. And now you can look all the papers, and particularly the keynote papers, the invited papers in different topics that are freely downloadable in this website. So you have the PowerPoint, the text, and also the video record that is now available on this website. And this website is here. I move a bit. Oh, yes, the European Grant for Rabbit Nutrition. I work also a lot on systems to formulate feed. We will come back in the next lessons on these systems. It is a free system on an Excel sheet, very easy to manage. And we promote some recommendations to nutritive value of raw material for the rabbits and so on. I work a lot on the last book on the rabbit nutrition. As you see here, this is the last edition in 2020. We've written 5 chapters in this book, so we were very implicated in this book. And I publish also this book, which is in French. It is the rabbits from biology to breeding, with 7 chapters, and it is possible to download it very freely, and then you can, I suppose, translate from French to Indonesian very easily with the software available in the net, for example. My lab is GenPhys and is very implicated in genetic, physiology, and breeding systems. And we are cooperating with the Agronomy High School and Veterinary High School. So we, in Toulouse, there is 2 main high schools on agronomy and veterinary that work with us. And we look at various species from sheep, rabbit, duck, also, etc., and pig too. One of the main line of research is to improve the genomes of the animal and the population and the breeding systems too, with different topics like that. Adaptation and robustness is very important. The health and resistance to disease also is very important. I move. Just a little look on my division, because INRA, my institute, is a national institute with 20 implantation in France, and my division is called Animal Physiology and Livestock System Divisions. Okay. And my institute is under 2 ministries, the Ministry of Research and the Ministry of Agriculture. We have a full public service with various missions, as you see, and I move. And now the main challenge for our institute is to look at food security and changes, climatic changes particularly, and how climatic changes will move the systems or agriculture, for example, and also our environment and food production of source. And we have large programs like that, meta programs that address the major challenges we have. It's a new system, a new method to pilot to control the research, in fact. For example, we have a systems meta program for sustainable managing plant and animal health, for example. And this is to make collaborations among the division of INRA. You see here a map of France with the different INRA center. And Toulouse is here, southwest. Okay. So just here the main expectation from our research from INRA with the major challenges, but I will move very quickly. We have to look to biotechnical challenges, to socio-economical challenges, to make more sustainable systems, in fact. That is the main line for research in our division. And one of the questions is to look at the production at a world scale and to look to reduce poverty, to increase food security, and also since there is a growing demand for animal products, so how to face to this demand, it is a big question too. And the resources for this breeding system are in competition with human nutrition, so we have to look also at this point. See. Okay, it's just a little look to see the different experimental sites we have in your country every site have a specialty. For example, you see in Southwest in Toulouse, there is mainly the rabbits. Okay. And Agroecology is very implicated in different tools. For example, CDpedia, it is a very good tool to look at animal feed resources. For every student or professor or technicians, you can have the composition of the feed in this website. Is very interesting. The review animal is very well known also. I will go back. So now we are starting really the lessons, the course on the rabbit world productions. And let's have a look on the history of the rabbit farming. If we look at this data, you will see that the rabbit is originating in the past, very old past, in the south of Spain. Okay, it is a real source of rabbits at the historically, and 6 million years before we discover some rest of rabbits. It was rabbits the bulk of the meat diet of men living in south of France, for example, here. And during thousands of years, the rabbit was only in this area in the world. Okay, so the south of Europe, mainly Spain, south of France, and a bit in North Africa. We'll see here antique ceramics and so on. People learn to rabbit farming very slowly, because even in the 6th centuries, for example, in France, there is some monks that breed rabbits in large hutches, in fact. And before that, the Romans start to kept rabbits. It's not really breeding, kept rabbits in some enclosure, some fences, like that was called leporaria. So the real start of breeding was in the monasteries by monks in the 10th and 12th centuries after Christ. So it is very late compared to sheep, compared to cow and so on, or poultry. You will see here just old pictures showing how noble people, noblemen, catch the rabbits in a park, in a fence. Okay, it was not really a breeding. Breeding starts in the 17th and maybe more largely on the 18th century. Before that, rabbit was not really breed. It was a hunting animal, hunted animal. In a very old book, a very old encyclopedia, Mr. Olivier de Serres, written 13 pages on rabbit farming. He describes the hutches building and also the matting. It was possible to have postpartum matting for the rabbit. It is very special compared to other species. And 1 year, one century, 2 centuries after, rabbit was domesticated more largely in the population, mainly in France and also Spain, but also England and more largely in Europe, West Europe. And we have the first breed of rabbits that were described, you see here, in the 18th centuries of main breed. And also we have some systems, the new farming system. Before that, it was only hutches inside, a farm. And here, some people develop a system with movable cages. For example, the system Moran, movable cages on a pasture. Okay. And then you will see this system more in the 20th century, 1 century ago. Rabbit breeding was largely used in the worker city, for example. Many people have 1 to 10 DO for a family in their garden. This is backyard farming, in fact. And you will see here on the right side of this picture, a farm presently in France, which is living on rabbit organic farming, and the feeding is mainly the grazing and so some grains. And you will see here the way of the movable cage, and you will see that the rabbit is a real herbivore animal, comparable to the sheep or equine or horses and so on. Yeah. Rabbits eat a lot of grass, in fact. So the rabbits have been used in research also for hundreds of years, because even in the 17th century, rabbit eyes were studied for the glaucoma descriptions, and then Louis Pasteur used rabbits for vaccines, for rabies vaccine. So the use of rabbits is very various, not only for meat productions, but also for meat disease. We see different use of rabbits to study different disease of the man. And if you look at the origin of the domestic rabbit, you will see that we have only 1 species in this gender, the gender Agroecology, and there is 1 species which is Cuniculus. So the Latin name of the rabbit is Agroecology cuniculus, only 1 species. Contrary to the, for example, the hare. The hare, it is the gender Lepus. You have 25 species in the world. Well, for example, the gender Nasolagus looks like a rabbit also. And for example, the Sumatra hare. This is a picture of the Sumatra hare. So the rabbit is not a rodent. He is a lagomorph. This is different. The rodents, you have the rats, the mouse, and so on. It is a quite different order, lagomorph, that include Leporidae and Leporinae. Another gender is very common in North America, the Civilagus, with 13 species. And to differentiate very clearly the rodent order, you have 1 pair of incisors on the upper jaw, and for the rabbits and zygomorph, you have 2 pairs of incisors at the upper jaw. Okay, 2 pairs, 1 large and 2 minor. We see more clear on this figure, for example, 1 pair and the second one here. Okay. So you have many animals that look like rabbits, but they cannot cross themselves. Okay, if you cross Civilagus with a rabbit, is give nothing, in fact. Okay, now we will move to the world rabbit production in the world, the meat consumptions, okay, and marketing. If all is okay. Alors, we did not speak about pet rabbits. We do not speak about Angora rabbits that give for clothes. We do not also look at the rabbits for fur, like Rex rabbit, for example. And we do not look also to rabbits used for laboratories, okay, for example, vaccines, serum, and so on. We mainly speak about rabbits for meat productions. Here you have a look of indoor production in Europe, for example. Alors, what about the rabbit livestock in the world? Probably we have over 200 million of heads. Heads, that means reproducing females. This is the system to evaluate the size of a flock. It is only reproducing female we use to define the size of a flock for a farm. Asia is a largely major countries having the largest rabbit population for farming, and particularly in the China, East Asia, with 150 million of heads. Okay. Also some West Asia, like in Indonesia, probably less than 1 million of head. But for many countries don't have the figures, like India, because there is rabbit production in India too, in Middle East, we don't know exactly. In Africa, the figures are not very precise, but probably Africa is about 18 million of heads. And Europe, Europe, 20 million of heads, and the main part is East Europe with 12 million of heads. And in France, for example, which was in the past one of the main countries producing the rabbits, now we have less than 1 million of heads because we have about 600,000 million of reproducing females. If we look at the rabbit production, China is the main country producing rabbit meat with about 1 million of tons carcass, with some other countries producing like North Korea, also Indonesia, and Europe is producing more or less 15% of the China production. Okay. This data, you can look at the FAO website, for example, but there is some error in this FAO website. We have to look also very carefully to these figures. So globally, the rabbit productions in the West Europe is decreasing and is increasing in the east of Asia. And globally in the world, rabbit production is increasing, more or less. If we compare to the rabbit meat consumption in France, for example, in France, so now we consume about 90 kilos of meat per inhabitant per year, and the rabbit is only 1 kilo, you see. So this is a consumption that is reducing at this moment. If we look at the world production, we can see here that China is 70% of the world production. You see, with 1 million tons of production. The top 5 countries in the world are China, North Korea, France, Egypt, and also Italy and Spain, which are the main countries producing rabbits. But also in East in east of Europe, there is some countries producing like Russia and Ukraine too. If you look more especially at Europe, you will see here that these figures are moving, and sometimes it's not according to years. There is some evolutions. For example, in Italy, in the past, 10 years ago, Italy was the first producer in Europe, but now there are only 30,000 tons productions, and France 45,000. East of Europe is traditionally a good producer too. If we look at these curves, you will see here curves according to time from 1960 to 2020, more or less. You have a world changes in the global rabbit meat productions. And you will see that, for example, for Asia here, still 1991, the production was very low. And this production in Europe, like here, the rabbit production from this date, more or less 1990, is reducing, more or less stable, and still reducing now. Meat production at large in Europe is reducing. People are trying to reduce their meat consumption mainly for health purposes, to manage human health. So meat consumption is reducing a bit in Europe. So a fast increase in Europe in the past, sort of adjustment, the second phase in 1980 to 1990. And in the third phase, an increase in the world, mainly due to the Asia countries. And when we look at the rabbit meat consumptions, you discover that finally there are few exchanges of rabbit meat in the world. Very few China exportation or France importations, etc. So rabbit meat production is consumed in the countries of the production, more or less. Okay. So even if the rabbit is China, even if the China is the first world production, finally, when we look at the total number of inhabitants in China, the consumptions in 0.68 kilo of rabbits per inhabitant. But depending on the region, south of China in consuming more rabbits than north or east of China. In France, you will see that more or less the consumption per inhabitant is the same than in China. Okay. In the North Africa, also the consumption is more or less the same, 0.60, 0.65 kilo. Production is also increasing in the west and central of Africa also. And in America, rabbit is considered mainly as a pet animal for all Anglo-Saxon countries, North Europe, North America. Rabbit is firstly a pet animal, not an animal for meat production and consumption. If we have a quick look on China productions, you see here that this production, as I said, started more or less 30 years ago, 25 years ago. because the government also of China declares that rabbit farming will be one of the 50 agricultural priorities. And so there is a program, a national program to develop rabbit meat productions and rabbit farming. So that effectively the growth of the rabbit farming was fast and robust during 1990 and to 2007, for example. And you will see here that some regions of China are largest production, high production is here, for example, the south center of China is a great production, the Sichuan. Shandong is also a very an area with high productions, and also Chongqing and Jiangsu. And what are the major types of rabbit raised in China? The rabbit stock shows that there is many meat rabbits, more or less 80% of rabbit are meat rabbit, but also there are Rex rabbit for the fur, and also Angora rabbit for the hair of the rabbit to make clothes and so on. But now the meat rabbit is increasing more than Rex or Angora, and Rex and Angora rabbit decline. If we look at the world trade of rabbit meat, finally, as I said before, more or less 2 to 3% of the productions is subjected to export or import. So the export volume for the world, more or less, is about 35,000 of tons, and the export value was about less than 200 millions US dollar. So there is more intra-industry trade between the countries that are very close, like France, Spain, Belgium, Italy. But this trade is very few, in fact, because the distance among these countries is more or less large, or the products are not exactly the same. For example, in France, we produce classically a rabbit when it is sold, a rabbit with a live weight of 2.4 kilo, compared to Spanish people that like to produce a more young rabbit, 2.1 or 2 kilo only. And Italian people likes more heavy rabbits. For example, 2.8, 2.9 kilos. So the feed efficiency, the price, and the type of production is not exactly the same, in fact. There is some diversity in the productions that make exchanges finally for small quantities only. Okay. So also what is important to favor the rabbit meat export, but finally the language also of the people matters for export. With the same language or similar language, it is a criteria that stimulates the export. And finally, the prices, low prices, for example, instead of the same language, are a negative criteria for importations. So finally, when we look at the world trade, we see that the production and consumption move from Europe to Asia. The meat trade changed from intercontinental in the past to intercontinental with an intra-industry trade, which is a significant characteristic of the rabbit meat trade. The trade is mainly driven by the demand and the population growth is not a major reason of rabbit meat imports. For example, in China, they prefer to develop their own industry 30 years ago, their own industry of rabbit meat production. And if you have countries, neighbor countries with common languages, that could stimulate these exchanges in rabbit meat. Donc, as a conclusion for rabbit production and trade, we can make some suggestions that domestic consumers or neighboring countries should be given high priority to exploit potential markets. You can also say that it's possible to expand the system with multi-channel exports that can reduce the risk and maintain long-time stable position. And the governments also should popularize nutritional knowledge of rabbit meat to encourage more people, especially the young people, to consume healthy rabbit meat. Because as you know, probably the rabbit meat is one of the more healthy meat compared to sheep meat or cow meat and so on, because it contains few lipids, and the lipids that are in the rabbit meat are polyunsaturated fatty acids that are very helpful for the health of the human. Now we will, if all is okay, we will pass to the third section of this course. We will look at some rabbit production systems, and we will see that it's possible to have rabbit farming from industry to backyard farming. So each country can choose its own systems adapted to the climatic conditions, to the economical conditions, social conditions of farmer, social condition of the consumers too. Here is a system for large-scale productions. It is an intensive rabbit conventional production with at least 400 reproducing females per farm. This is full indoor systems. And in Europe, we use batch management of these rabbit females, artificial insemination, and also automatic feeding systems, and a work daily organization with batch of work. That finally, one worker can look at a flock of about 600 or 800 reproducing females in his farm. For a full-time job in France, you need more or less 600 or 700 reproducing female for a full-time job. 1%. In this system, very intensive one, full indoor, we can ask about the economic balance. You have high animal performances, but to reach these high animal performances, you need to have high inputs, the very good quality of the feeds, pelleted feeds, very good quality of the housing, of the equipments, very good also prophylaxis and use of drugs. And you may have some high sensitivity to risk, to hazards. If you have some epidemic, for example, or a problem of marketing, for example. Here is a small video that is you will see this is a small video. This is an example of promotion of the rabbit production in Russia. Just another one. So you will see here a promotion by a company, because there are several companies in Russia that promote rabbit production. And you are the same systems in Europe. For example, in France, there is some companies that promote specific system. You will see here famous system in France. This is Duo systems. This is special technique for a simple management of the rabbit farm with a one batch production. Here I show you see the different pictures of the farm. Okay, and you will see that this system Duo is in fact a two building farm that are connected. And what does it mean exactly? I describe this system because it could be adapted according to the countries and so on. You have two units within the same building, and from the unit 1 to the unit 2, the females are moved at weaning of their litter to the unit 2, and reversely at the next weaning. Okay, so this is the females that are moved, not the litter. It is organized like that. You see the entry here, feed silo, and the output of rabbits for selling here. And here are the cages and the two buildings, 1, 2, 1, 2. Here is Duo systems with 500 reproducing females. If you look in this indoor system, you look at the cages, and here you will see in the middle of the cages a yellow tube. This yellow tube is the automatic feeding systems, okay, that provide the pelleted feed. And you have also another tubes for drinking water, which is given through nipples. And below the cages, this is a system to scrap the excretion, the feces of the rabbits, okay, and urine too. The indoor system, that means the lighting is scheduled to favor the rabbit reproduction, okay, and fertility of the females. And at the opposite, okay, very intensive one, high money input also to buy this type of systems. You have to buy the building, to buy the cages, to buy the rabbit with special lines, with high production, to buy the feed, and so on. So this is a high input of money, and thus you have to have a high output of rabbit meat for selling to be sustainable, in fact. At the opposite, in France, you have also organic rabbit farming with an access to pasture for grazing. So these are outdoor systems. So you need to have a field, and effectively, it is a low input in terms of money, low input system, except the fact that you need to have at least 1 hectare, 10,000 square meters of pasture to have your rabbits. But with such system, one full-time job is covered with 80 rabbits, female rabbits, okay? So compared to this one, you need 600 or 700 rabbits, so 10 times more reproducing females to be sustainable here. And here only 80 to 10 times less rabbits. But the farmer not only breeds the rabbits, but also he makes cultivation to have pasture, cultivation to have some grain, and also he has to sell himself the rabbits on the market, okay, and to prepare the animal for selling. Some pictures here, and you see in this organic system with feeders, where you have a mix of whole grain, peas, also barley and wheat, perhaps, and also a small part of pelleted feed, because for milking female, it is important to have some pelleted feed with vitamins, minerals, and so on. You have also hay, okay, in a tray inside the cages. I saw before, you will see that. The rabbit is an herbivore. And you have also, between these two opposites, the industrial production or organic production, you may have many different systems. For example, this is a semi-indoor systems for tropical countries with cages, with a cover to protect from wind or fresh air, but it is semi-open, okay? It could be convenient for tropical countries, for example, like Indonesia, maybe. In Indonesia, when I go in Indonesia some years ago, you have some system like that, okay? Or like that with cages in a small farm. You can have also backyard system. This is in Congo. People don't use pelleted feeds, because they don't have the machine to pellet the feeds, and they use only green forages and some grain in flour. The grain are grinded for flour. And hutches are only or most only on wood because they don't have wire net to prepare wire net cages. You see also another backyard system. It was in Haiti after the earthquake. So you can produce also with very low input rabbit meat for family use or to small market around the family. Rabbits so adapted to very different systems. And also for people, for the farmers, it's possible to prepare themselves the feed. Here, because the feed, it is more or less 60% of the production cost. And I see that in Indonesia. This picture is from Indonesia, this one, because it is a man in Java that prepare the feed, pelleted feed for him and for the neighbor, because neighbor also have some rabbits farms. And you can use local plant resources. You can make sun-dried resources and then to mix and to prepare the pellets after. For that, effectively, you need to have good basis in nutrition of the rabbits because you cannot formulate like for pigs or like for poultry. You formulate differently for the rabbits. And you need fiber, for example. Fiber requirements will be the topics of the next lesson. And also, I will have to finish the lesson. Have a look on rabbit farming from the backyard, but also for urban rabbit production. It's possible to produce rabbits in the cities or around the cities. In the past, in the Europe, many workers in the cities have 1, 2, 3 females for rabbit meat to have 1 rabbit for the family during the Sunday lunch, for example. You can have a production with different systems, and the performance can move largely. I see here is a design that shows it is possible to have intensive or extensive production. Okay. For example, here is a design that shows a reproduction unit here for the doe, with the station here for 31 days, lactation, and then fattening. But you can see that you can wean the rabbits more or less from 25 to 30 days, and you can slaughter the rabbits from 70 to 80, 100 days, and so on. So when you design a system of production, you have to choose many things. Do you want to have high money input systems with modern farm, but you need to have a very high production to balance your systems, or you can have a extensive low cost feeding system, for example. And you can have, for example, only 5 or 4 or 5 liters of 6 to 7 wean rabbit per year. For example, for organic rabbit farming, a doe more or less give per year only 20 young that could be sold, compared to intensive system when a doe could give for sale 50 or 55 rabbits, so twice more at least. But when you construct, you choose a system, look at the cost look also at the quality of the work and at the possibilities to have fees, prophylaxis, renewal of livestock, and so on. This is a intensive production, you see. Sorry, because the design is not exact. The weaning is done at 28 days. Slaughter is done at 10 weeks, more or less, 11 weeks of age. And so that with this system, we need a balanced feed, pelleted balanced feed for the doe. Another balanced feed different for the fattening rabbits, okay? And when you use a batch system, for example, you can have 6 or 7 liters of at least 7 or 8 weaned rabbits per year. And with this system, you can produce much more, to 50 rabbits per year and per doe. But the income could be high for feed, prophylaxis, and so on. In some countries, they try to promote the meat consumption because you have to produce, but also if people don't like the rabbit or don't know very well the rabbit meat and the quality of the rabbit meat, maybe the people don't like to buy the rabbit meat. And here it was done in Africa when they tried to stimulate the rabbit meat consumptions. And they constructed a rabbit meat calculator, for example, for a family with 203 children. You can provide 1 rabbit per week that make 1 meal finally. And they calculate that with 6 doe, you can cover effectively the 1 meal per week for such a family. So in Africa and in many countries in Asia too, there are small-scale rabbit farming everywhere in the world. You see, with different systems like that or that, according to the climatic condition, to the possibilities to make the hutches for the rabbits. You have also many videos in YouTube that show how to farm the rabbits. Even in this one, it was in Europe, in England, when a man is farming a rabbit in a 10 square meter per unit inside a car, more or less. In India, you see here, in Nepal, also Africa, many urban farming also. Here is in the USA, in Ghana, Kenya. In India, there are programs, and also in Indonesia, in Ivory Coast, in Haiti, for marketing the rabbit, and also to collect the forages to feed the rabbits. Rabbit production is really a good tool to alleviate the poverty. Here is extensive rabbit farming in France. You can do this example. This is a funnel, you see, and inside the funnel, which is a very light structure, in fact, you can share the funnel in small fence like that, small park, when you can have a doe with a litter. And even the animal can go outside to graze a pasture, for example. And so rabbit farming is very interesting too, because droppings are fertilized, and so you can insert very easily the rabbits in the agroecological loop with production of vegetables, for example. So presently, in many countries, rabbit is used for that, in such a way. And why urban agriculture could be very important in the future? Because the urbanization of the world is unfortunately increasing a lot. Okay. For example, if you look at this figure, since 2008, over 50% people on Earth are urban people, and this figure will move to 70% urban people in 2050. So in 20-25 years. Every week you have a new city with over 1 million inhabitants, etc. So we may have to look also at the production of meat, including in the urban productions. Also, if we need more meat for the world, also we have more wastes. We have to look effectively very carefully to the waste of food in the world. These wastes are mainly in developed countries, effectively, and this is estimated, and you see the quantities are very important, 200 million of tons of wasted food in the world, mainly from developed countries. So urban agriculture could be really an essential contribution to food supply, and rabbit farming could be a very good tool to develop this agriculture in the urban area, as you see here. You may have, in fact, 3 types of urban farming: micro scale, with farm plots integrated in social housing or slum projects, for example. You can have smaller scale with multifunctional agroforestry in green city corridors, in gardens, and so on, or riverbanks, and so on. But you can also mind to more intensive high-tech farming. Pork, chicken, and fish farms are already in constructions. You may have also skyscraper for agriculture that are in projects in this moment. Could farm like this one could rake 80 million a year. Already there is some farm in cities. Here it is in Montreal. Loofah farms are constructed on the rooftops of the Greater Montreal, and they produce vegetable and already some meat too. It is here in Beijing. You have also potted plants that are grown in a rotary light tracking system in a greenhouse at an indoor farm near Beijing. So already urban farming is developing. Okay. 3 areas are concerned because you can, when you do such systems, you can improve the ecological loop by using, for example, vegetable waste to feed the rabbits. Byproducts of vegetables, of legumes, and so on can feed very easily some rabbits, and the rabbits produce some fertilizer for the garden. So it is very easy to perform such systems and easy to manage also. Here you have this system in France. You have the system also here in India. You see suburban situations. It is close to the city, but not in the city, with some small garden, very intensively conducted, with a mix of, for example, here the cow, but could be rabbit too, with vegetables too. So rabbits could be adapted to these systems too, from a home scale food production to ultra specialized industrial systems too. And you can look also at some resources to learn more on urban farming, okay, in this way. And this is one way to produce more sustainability and to have cities that are more livable and more high quality for living. If we look at the advantages of the rabbits for livestock compared to livestock species, there is many advantages because rabbit is a small body size, easy to handle, not aggressive, and many women are rabbitry managers in the world. Even children are rabbitry managers. The cost for buying an animal or rabbit is very low. You can have a structure to house the rabbits that could be very low or medium cost. And you can have a very efficient reproductive ability of the rabbit. It is highly productive in terms of offsprings per year, as I showed before, because you can have mating induced ovulation and a short gestation, only 1 month. You can have also lactation of 1 month only. So according to the lines, you may have 6 to 12 kids. And so the production of the rabbit is very, very productive animal if it is well conducted. So, for example, one good doe, more or less, can produce about 30 to 50 kids a year. That means one doe can produce 60 to 100 kilo of live weight to sell. It is about 1 calf a year. Rabbit is as productive as cow or other species if it is well conducted, well managed. To finish, rabbits is an herbivore, so the diet must contain fibrous plant material or agricultural byproducts. So you can feed rabbits without direct competition with human food. If you want to feed a poultry, you have to give some grain, but and the grain can be used for men too. But rabbits represent a unique opportunity for small farms with limited resources in developing countries, for example, to feed animals, have some meat without compete with human food. Rabbits are both a smart economical choice and ecological choice, and efficient feeders also. You need more or less 4 kilos of feed to make 1 kilo of meat. And particularly the carcass quality of rabbit is higher than poultry, pigs or cow, with a good meat yield, more or less 55, 56%, a good meat to bone ratio, and that means more edible meat is possible than the same size of carcass. The quality also of the meat is very good for, as I said just before, meat rabbit quality is high in protein, 20%, low in fat, but high in omega-6. With an omega-6 to 3 ratio, it is lower than 6, so very important for the human health. And it contains minerals like sodium and phosphorus. And the caloric value of the rabbit meat is not so high, okay, so less than pig or chicken. So it is for diets for humans is very good. And rabbit meat contains vitamins like B12. So you can have different rabbit farming in size and purposes. from large commercial meat rabbit production facilities, as I showed before, to medium size, 50 to 200 breeding doe for selling, or direct selling or semi-direct selling, butcheries, restaurants, market. Or you may have also family or backyard rabbitries too. I will pass to this one. It is some figures about profitability you can you can expect from the rabbits. You can have a good profitability. Maybe I have to finish now to leave some time for the discussion. I have just here productivity that was done in Nepal for an hectare of land. They calculate with some experience that rabbit was the most productive animal for 1 hectare of crops and livestock compared to pork, to lamb, or to even others. So rabbit is good animal for rabbit human farming, as we say. It is an herbivore. No competition with human food is very important. You can reduce organic waste by feeding the rabbit. You can use many types of vegetables for rabbit feeding, hibiscus, banana, etc., etc., and also the wastage of legumes. And also, the meat of the rabbit is very good for human health and easy to store, easy to slice, also easy to prepare. So you have to see that the rabbit is possible to produce very different type of rabbit, from intensive to backyard farming. Rabbit is adapted to very different climatic conditions, from tropical one to cold one. It could be a very low cost productions, and the quality of the meat is very good. At the world scale, actually, rabbit production increases at the world scale and contributes more and more to reduce poverty and undernutrition. If you look at the FAO recent report that was printed in 2019, you will look at these approaches to try to have some more agroecological farming and agricultural systems that are also very efficient and then can produce higher food security and nutrition. I recommend this report. Thank you very much. This is the end of my talk, and I come back to every slide if necessary, or for every questions if you need. I am open for discussions now.
Thank you for the amazing lecture of Dr. Thierry, and now I'd like to offer a chance for students who want to ask questions. Does anyone to ask questions? Don't worry, it's fine to ask questions in Bahasa Indonesia, and I will translate it. Please raise your hand. Or
I understand not very well. The sound is not very good.
okay, it's time for discussion session. So anyone can ask a question in English or in Bahasa Indonesia. Okay. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Guru Prasetyo, please open your mic and
thank you, ma'am, for this time. I will ask to you. I'm Prasetyo. I as a rabbit farm, but I'm still raise the fancy rabbit. I want to ask you, small and the middle of scale of the rabbit farming in Indonesia have maybe some problem to raise a rabbit, especially in the slaughter rabbit. Especially in the problem is marketing of the rabbit meat. One of other problem maybe is Bunny syndrome still exists in here. So maybe you can suggest give a suggestion for me for this problem, because I'm as a rabbit farmer feel so it is time I feel more profitable to raise the fancy rabbit than the slaughter rabbit. Thank you.
Okay. We have also the same problem in Europe, because more and more people have companion or fancy animals. In parallel, also the meat consumption in Europe was very high and tending to reduce, mainly because of health purposes. People look at their own health, and medicine says that it is important to have a reduction of meat consumptions and increase of legume consumptions. So that effectively, actually, the market in Europe faces to these challenges because people that have fancy rabbits in their house don't consume at all rabbits then. So actually, mainly adult people that are a bit old, over 30 or 50 years, consume regularly the rabbit. Also, because these people are used to prepare the rabbit. One solution is to make some promotion of rabbit meat with some degustation, gustative training, marketing stands. In Nepal, for example, in the past, people were not used at all for consuming rabbit. Rabbit was not consumed for meat. And now more and more people know it is possible to farm rabbit. Now that it is possible to prepare the rabbit carcass, know how to slice the rabbit carcass, and now also how to cook the rabbit meat and to prepare it, and then they give for free at the beginning to test at some people in the street or in the market, test it and so on, and people like, because they discover these new products. And now, step by step, people are okay to buy some rabbits. So that I say at the beginning, it is cultural and social use of the people, and also effectively, if the social level for Indonesian is increasing and people like to have fancy animals, actually, effectively, I know that in Indonesia, the market for fancy animals is good for the rabbit. But it is also rabbit production.
Okay, thank you, sir, and Buita, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other question, please?
Yes.
Yeah. Ya, pertanyaan bisa juga ditulis di room chat dalam bahasa Indonesia atau dalam bahasa Inggris. Silakan.
Sorry, the sound is very bad. I do not understand. There is some. Can you repeat?
Yes, the participants can ask in Bahasa Indonesia or in English. It's for free, yeah. Okay. Or just write it.
You can write the question in the discussion screen because
Yeah.
I
Okay.
am problem with of sound with you.
Okay. Can I ask you some questions, Mr. Terry? Yes. In China, why is it so this jump of the production of rabbit meats? What is the factors? What are the factors?
Mhm.
Yeah. Of this
Yes.
high production. Okay.
Yes, why? In fact, in the past, only Sichuan, the past 30 years ago and so and before, the Sichuan of the south, only one region of China was producing with small farms. But China was facing to meet a high demand of meat. Okay, so the government look at different priorities for agriculture, and they establish 50 priorities, and one of them was rabbit production for meat. So it was established 20 years ago, more or less, 25 years ago. And then for each priority, government give money. They give money for institute of research, an institute for development of agriculture, and they give money also at the end for constructing new farm, new guys that would have some money for rabbit farming. They could let money with a low interest, you see. And they give also technical advices with Institute for Development. So in every region, there was technicians that give advices to farmers to enlarge their rabbit farm, okay? And step by step, the production was moving and was increasing. And so now, rabbit meat market is more or less all over China, not only in the south, but for every region, more or less. And the price, and it is possible to find rabbit meat more or less in every large city in China at a price which is correct. So that this production takes more or less 20 years to increase, but now it is a well-known production. And so also industrial partners cooperate with the government to develop new line of rabbits, new feed, pelting feed, housing of rabbits, and so on. They also import rabbit lines from Europe, and rabbit systems from Europe. They import and so on. And several European and French partners, French private companies, go in China to sell rabbits, to sell livestock systems, and so on. But at the beginning, it was the government that gave the start of this production of rabbit meat.
Thank you very much. So there is the intervention of the government for rabbit meat program. Do you think in Indonesia it's possible also to increase the meat production? According to you, how is it?
Is it possible to increase the production? I don't understand. Can you repeat?
What do you think about Indonesia's situation? Is it possible to increase the rabbit meat production?
In Indonesia?
Yeah.
Yeah. In Indonesia, but also for many other countries, frequently people are not used to cook the rabbit or to consume the rabbit. So it's necessary to produce rabbit, but also to the consumer that the rabbit is good for him. It is a good meat, as good as poultry, for example, and so on. And to make some tests of degustation for the taste is very important. The preparation is very important. In France, it's the supermarket, for example, organize some marketing operations to promote the rabbit meat. You see, and to buy stuff. So it is important to know how to produce, but to know how to sell and to prepare it, to convince the consumer that rabbit meat is good for him.
Okay, thank you very much. There is a question here, stated in the chat in Indonesia. Yeah.
I see the question, yes.
Yeah, yes.
The heat stress.
How to make Indonesian farmer to interest to rear this pseudoruminants? How to make it farmer interested?
Yes, I see the question about heat stress for the farmer. Alors, in tropical countries, there is several possibilities to fight, to deal with that. People in North Africa, for example, in Egypt, are used to deal with such heat stress. But in tropics, what the problem is not only the temperature, but also the level of humidity, which is very high, of course. So where the level of humidity is very high, effectively, the production level for rabbits is a bit low. Rabbits don't like very much high humidity. So one of the systems is to reduce, for example, the productions, to extend the productions, for example, to extend the matting, not a matting after weaning, but to wait a bit. It's also possible to have housing that are comfortable for the rabbits with a good ventilation, and to look at the humidity. If they are reared in cages, I think we can have good ventilations. When they are on the floor, it is maybe less easy to fight against humidity, for example. Also, the preparation of when the temperature is high and humidity high, the feed intake of the rabbit is a bit lower, and so you have to prepare special feed to fight to encourage a good nutrient intake for the animal. But I will speak about this stress in my next lesson. I will speak about these problems of feeding in tropics and so on.
Okay, thank you very much. I think the time is over. So with all the questions already asked. Yeah.
Still one question in chat.
Chuck, there's still one question to be answered. Yes. The rabbits is pseudo-ruminant, but it's really not really interested by most of the farmer in Indonesia. What is the advantage of rabbit farming, and how to make the farmer interested to rear this animal?
There are several solutions for that. Several solutions were tested in the world, in fact. If you look at the history of the Benin is a small country in West Africa. In the past, 40 years ago, they no farms for rabbits. No people was farming rabbits. But they start to farm rabbits because there was a model farm, a pilot farm first near a city, a pilot farm for rabbits with education of technicians. When technicians are educated to rabbit farming, they can go in the country, the countryside, to learn the rabbit farming to farmer group, small group, 5, 6 neighbors, for example, and they provide, for example, at the beginning, one couple or 3 female and 1 male with hutches and some feed to start at a very low level, very low scale. And step by step, farmers start to have some rabbit at home, start to fatten some rabbits, and start also to consume rabbits. And they discover that it is a good meat source for us. And then they enlarge in the second step the rabbit farm and start to sell some rabbits at the market. So progressively now Benin is a stable producer of rabbits with at least, I think, maybe 5,000 or 10,000 farmers for rabbits. Not only rabbits, they farm also poultry or etc., or maize production, etc. But rabbits now is a part of the farm system. If you don't have people that, technicians, for example, that encourage, speak of rabbit farming and give some techniques to correctly farm the rabbits, it will be very complex to stimulate effectively the farmers to discover this animal. So you need at the beginning to have with systems with technicians from institute, for example, or public services that help the farmers to discover and to learn rabbit farming.
Thank you very much. So, although there is no farmer at the beginning, but with the extension of rabbit farming, it could be more farmers in the Finland country. Okay, there is asking one student asking about if it is possible to one question more, Mr. Thierry? One question more, or is it possible to add one more question? Okay, Rafi Amrola, yeah, you can show your question in the chat or just speak it now.
Okay.
Rafi Amrola. Ya, silakan menyampaikan pertanyaannya. Ya, Mr. Thierry bersedia menjawab. Silakan. Oke. Okay. So, we can start the question. So, because of the time, with all the questions already asked and with the time limit approaching, I would like to close the lecture today. Okay. Oh, this is the question. Okay. I think Mr. Thierry can read it.
Yes, I see there is one question in the discussion window. Yes. Effectively, for urban farming, it could have some regulation from the government, from the mayor, that exclude farming from the urban, from the city. But it is national regulations. People, in fact, in urban have many fancy animals. This is the case in France, maybe too much companion animal. And effectively, there is some specific regulation to produce, depending the scale of the productions. If you have a small scale production, for example, to reuse the wastes, there is no sound, the rabbit is not crying, there is no smell. So rabbit is a good opportunities, and you have to start at a small scale, 1, 2, or 3 does, one male, and try to produce with reusing or reuse of vegetable wastes and so on. And when you have a low cost production like that, you have a very low risk and we have a high risk of success, finally, a low risk to not to succeed. So you can also have rabbit for pet, effectively, a mixed. Some people, I see some Indonesian farmer in the Bali Island that have as well a farm with rabbit for companion, fancy rabbit, and another for meat rabbit, and he produce as well pelleted feed for meat rabbit and pelleted feed for companion rabbit. So the two possibilities exist and coexist, in fact.
Okay. I think all of the questions are already answered by Mr. Thierry. So I appreciate the time and effort given by Dr. Thierry today to attend our guest lecture as the keynote speaker. Merci beaucoup. I hope today's session is beneficial to all of us and with this virtual class is over. Students and audience are allowed to leave the Zoom meeting. Thank you all for your time and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very
Waalaikumsalam
much.
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
It was a pleasure to have this course with you. See you in 1 week, more or less.
Yeah, it's Monday.
Yes,
Yeah, it's Monday.
Monday
Yeah,
30.
Monday 30. Yeah.
Perfect.
I will accompany with you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
I hope. Yeah. See you.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye bye.
See you.
See you. Ciao.
See you.
Next Monday. Yeah. See you.